it's now should be showing on 2 channels now. But the problem is, it's not showing my video on the other one. I'm going to crack on. I'm going to crack on. Can you hear me, guys? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Can you share the YouTube link as well in case anyone's having issues on LinkedIn? They can go there.
I've got a feeling not going to work, but I will share it. Hang on. I'm just going to put it in here in the thing. Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, bugger. I'm trying to find that. I've lost the here. Right. Oh, what's going on here? Right, I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Right, can you all see that now? Is everybody? Can you see that? I think we've wasted some time.
Yeah,
right.
Yep, it looks good.
Okay.
I think we can continue.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rattle through the initial bits. So basically, I'm doing this workshop to help people. The idea is that people are struggling with. There's a lot of people that are looking for work. So this is not. It's got nothing to do with what sector you're in. It's got nothing to do with the any specific. Whether you're cyber, whether you're tech, whether you're sales, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. This is just a general help on how to do your CV and how to do applications. I'm going to run through it at fairly good pace, and then there'll be a session at the end where I can help with questions and help with specifics that people might be struggling on. So, the first bit is that the reason, I mean, with regards to who I am, I've basically been in recruitment for about 11 years, 12 years. Placed lots of candidates within cyber, sales, within tech. I speak to employers on a daily basis, and I've worked at the Total Jobs as a job board, and I've researched the use of ChatGPT a lot to see how it works and how it doesn't work, and what from an employer's point of view as well, which is the important thing. People have got to remember that ChatGPT is just a tool. And sometimes what happens is a lot of people think that it's the panacea, and it really isn't. ChatGPT is literally, it's there to help you, but it's not going to replace the effort that you need to put in to get a role. So let's crack on. So let's dial this right back. What's the purpose of a CV? The purpose of the CV is to basically give an employer a snapshot of who you are in enough and a succinct enough way for them to wish to then interview you. So the ultimate aim is that CV actually gets you an interview. No CV in the world is ever going to get you the job, certainly not in the areas that you guys are looking to do. Okay. If you're in sales, if you're in tech, if you're in cyber, if you're in any professional services area, a CV is just there to get you an interview. And you need to provide enough information on there on the initial page that they're looking at, because literally I'll tell you now, in my experience, you've got 15, I mean, I'm being generous when I say 15 to 20 seconds to really make an impression with an employer. Then there's certain bits, and that's why I organize my CVs. Those of you that had your CV redone by myself, you'll understand why, because when you know that somebody has only got 15 to 20 seconds to review it, you then begin to realize, crikey, I really, I haven't got much time to be able to make an impression here. That's why it's really, really key that you essentially you pay very close attention to that first page, which is why I'm going to spend more time on that than anything else in terms of the CV. Right. And what you're looking to do is create a positive impression. You want to get your skills across. You want to get your labs across, what experience you've got, your achievements. These are the asserts, the things that are really, really key in helping an employer to think, yeah, thumbs up, need to give this this person an interview. Now, also remember, ATS systems don't work off the CV that I write, so you're going to need a second CV which is ATS friendly, and essentially that's one without all the templating. And it's relatively simple. I'm not going to go through it in this, but essentially that is a very big core difference. But how I'm going to show you to apply is sort of the really does take a long time, maybe an hour per application, an hour and a half, depending on how granular you want to go with this. So let's go through. There's some errors that you really do need to avoid. Use a legible font, because some people use these mad-fangled fonts and you can't read the damn thing. Waste of time, absolute waste of time. Make sure that the template that you're using, and there's so many really cost-effective platforms. The one I use is myperfectcv.co.uk, and use a good platform on there that will really help to lay it out in such a way that basically anyone can see exactly why they want to give you an interview. Okay. And again, remember, a CV is just there to get you an interview. It's not there to get you a job. And so avoid making it so long. I mean, yeah, if you've got 20 years experience, it's hard to put that on one page. So you can put it on 3 pages. It's not a problem. The challenge is how to get enough information on there, but not too much to make it boring. One thing that's very, very important, you need to make sure that you've got your social links on there. So for people in tech, that could be the GitHub account, because essentially, that's how you will know what their coding skills are, because you'll be able to go into the repository and have a look at what they've done previously, what projects they worked on. If you're in cyber and you're a pen tester and you're entry level, maybe the CTFs, you want to put try, hack me, hack the box, the rooms that you feel really proud of that you've completed, you need to have them on there. It's really important, this, and it's key. If you've created a home lab, that's also really, really important that you have it on there, because you'll realize that this is the thing that employers are really looking at. If you talk to someone like Sean Mitchell, or if you talk to Justin from the RAC, he bangs on about, they both do, about home labs and getting the CTFs on there, getting that, even though you've got no commercial experience or limited commercial experience, you've got enough there to be able to show from your home labs and from the CTFs that you're doing. And the same thing for if you're a software developer. You can go on and create applications and put them in the repository to show this is your coding, or you can work on freelance projects and demonstrate them on there. And again, it is really important, because even if it's freelance, just remember it has an effect, because people can see that, yes, it's still good to go. So let's get into it. What I've done is I've taken somebody's CV and I've debadged it, so there's no information on there that I can't share. Essentially, this is the format I use, and the reason I use it, because it's so easy to see. Look, you've got the name there, you've got your summary there in 2 paragraphs, contact information including your LinkedIn or your GitHub, or if you're in any Discord servers or anything like that where you've got something to demonstrate, or you've got a blog, put them in there front and center so they can see it. This is the key thing. What you put in there, and I'll go through this in a bit more detail when I'm going through how to apply for a role, but it's really got to map the role that you're trying to apply for. This is why I say it takes an hour and a half. And this is why I know it can be frustrating when you get rejected, because you put a lot of effort in. But there is no other way to do job hunting anymore, I'm afraid. The spray and pray route does not work. And I can testify to that, because when I was looking for a job earlier this year, literally, I did the spray and pray for a week just to check. Got not a single person come back. I did it the targeted way, and I ended up with 6-7 interviews in the space of a week. So I know it works, but it took a hell of a lot longer. And each application I had to go through it, in a very, very, hardcore way, looking at the the actual job spec and looking at my CV. But let's get back to the CV. So your name there, your professional summary, and this again, it's got to relate back. Usually you're going to do this with a job in mind, but if you put a base one together, which gives you an idea of, gives any employee an idea of what you can do, then your key achievements. This is critical, absolutely critical, this section. The key achievements and key projects, these two are absolutely vital. I mean, the other one is, if you can, usually if you're entry level, you could have the key achievements and key projects in one, and then you can put your certifications down here, because that's also extremely important. And the skills, you know, you can do it in two, or you can do it in one. My preference is that you sort of, I don't know, the jury's out for me. The one just makes it cleaner. So if you just have them all in one, 12, 13, 15 skills, a mix of technical skills, and then your soft interpersonal skills, things like stakeholder management, all of those things are also very important. Remember that the interpersonal skills are just as important as the technical skills. People aren't just hiring on the fact that you can do CTS, or that you can hack things, because you could be a really, really shit person at communication. Pardon my French. Nobody's going to hire you, because in every role, there's going to be some form of stakeholder management, or client relationship management, or management of people with, or working within a team. So it's a whole composite thing that you need to look at. And this is why this page is the most important, by the way. You've got 15 to 20 seconds to make an impression. So remember, when you're writing that professional summary, yes, you can use, Chat GPT or AI, but it's got to sound like you. It's got to be your voice. It's got to be you telling your story about what you can do, think of it like this. This is your window into an employer. And what's he going to see? What do you want to tell him? That is the whole critical thing about this whole page, because in there, you're going to have your key achievements. I would personally, unless you've got 20, 25 years experience like this person has, they've got 7 or 8 that they can put in there. I'd stick to 3 or 4 really top achievements. And don't make them the same. Make them slightly different, okay? And what you do is you absolutely make sure that you are able to demonstrate some key metrics in there as well. Now, it's not always possible, I know that, but where you can, it's always good to put numbers or percentages or figures in there, because it does help people, especially within tech and cyber. We're very mathematical. Things are numbers and ones and zeros. So they think in a very logical way. So it helps them when you talk in terms of absolutes and numbers, percentages, stats, ratios. They like that. So use that to your advantage with the achievements, and even with your project. So you're an entry-level person, let's say, and you're in tech or cyber. In tech, you can easily say, right, I'm a coder. I've been working on freelance projects. I've done some personal projects. I've made this application, and you can reference it. You can give a bit of an idea around the tech stack that you worked with. You can give an idea of who, if you've done it for an external, even if it was for free and you've just done it as a favor, you can put that in there. It's important to showcase what skills you have. And so that, again, it's very important. And with the skills, what you really need to do is you need to make sure that you have a good blend of tech skills and interpersonal skills. My ratio is normally, I do probably around 8 to 10, I would say, tech skills, and about 5 to 6 interpersonal skills. And that way it doesn't make the list too big, roughly. And also it gives them a good blend of your experience and what you bring to the table beyond just hacking or ISO 27001 or whatever it is. So remember that and keep that in mind. Right. So essentially, that's the other thing that you could do. If you make this section, if you make this section smaller, you can put your key projects here, and you can put your certs here, which would mean that basically you've got all the key information on the front page, which is exactly what you need to ensure that the hiring manager can see all. And let me just run through this. You've got 15 seconds to make an impression, roughly. So when the employer or hiring manager is reading through that, what's he seeing now? Think of it like the way I'm showing you here. You've got your professional summary there, which should be succinct to the point, telling exactly what you can do and what you're going to deliver in that specific role. Then you've got your key achievements, and I'd say keep that to 3, 4, 5 maximum. You don't need more than that. And that's telling you, and that's now telling you what exactly you can So the achievements are going to go through exactly what you've delivered. You know, whether it's a personal project, whether it's a freelance project, whether it's a non-commercial project, whatever it is, it will give you the chance to demonstrate it in there, 3, 4, 5, and then the projects you can. For the projects, like I said, if you as an entry-level person, because much of the time it is a case that entry-level people don't know what to put in there. If you've created a home lab, or you've been working on a virtual environment, you've created a network, whatever it is, put that together. Put 3 of them together, 3 personal projects you worked on, even if it's just writing a blog. Reference a blog in there that, I've created this blog, I go on. One very good example is Joe, my friend Joe Wells. He's basically 500 days or more now. I think it's more than that even. He's been going on the Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. He's been going on religiously every day and doing some work on there, and he posts about it. Now, that's the kind of thing that you can put on there as either as a project or as an achievement to show, look, for 500 days I've been working on all of these various things, and you can mention the rooms, you can mention your achievements in that. And it's really key, because as an employer, you need things that are going to set you apart from the rest of the competition. And that is something that, if you talk to someone like Sean Mitchell from NCC, or you talk to Justin from the RAC, or you talk to any of these guys who've been around the block, they're going to say to you, what additional things have you done to make you stand out? And those are the kind of things that are going to stand out. I can't stress this enough. I genuinely can't. So what you could then have, you'd probably have a little bit more room, and you can put your certs in there. And unfortunately for us, the cybersecurity industry is absolutely hell-bent on certs being, so important. So unfortunately, it is the way it is. Certs, you just have to have them in there, and you've got to have done some. I'm not going to sit here and recommend what certs to do or not do, or the rest of it. It's not for me to worry about that. But what I will say is that there is a certain baseline that you get by basically doing, that. I think they call it the trifactor, don't they? A+, network plus, and security plus, and then build from there. And I think that covers your first page. And just remember now, as a applicant for a role, when a hiring manager's got only 15 seconds, because he might have 1,000 applications, and even if HR whittle this down to 500 or 100, or you've not got much time to make an impression. So really, what goes on that first page is more important than anything, because what it will demonstrate is what do you actually bring to the table for this role that they're recruiting for. And I'll go on to that secondary once we've gone through the CV, on how to make applications and how you would use a base CV to then modify it so that an employer can understand, related back to the role, how you would then hit the notes. Right. We'll go to the second page, and basically this is just your work history. And in this case, because this person's got so much experience, we had to change it round a bit. You wouldn't need to do this if you're entry level. To be honest, my guess is the first page is where you'll have all the information on certs, achievements, that personal summary, and then the contact information. And the second page will just be your work history. Second page, third page, whatever it is, it'll just be your work history again. And also, so there might be people who are out there who've done sales. In your achievements, make sure that you've got your sales numbers in there, and demonstrate it very clearly what your sales ratios are, because as a sales manager, that's the first thing they want to know. Do you hit target? What were your targets? What have you billed? What were the size of your deals? This is really important, so make sure that's on the front page. And then your work history is really straightforward, to be honest. It's just about what you really did. You know, it can be done realistically, you could probably do it in 5-6 bullet points. Bullet points make it easier. And the reason I use bullet points personally is because I think people read it in chunks, you know, and I think that helps, because what happens is they're reading what you've done in that role in small bite-sized chunks, and it helps. So, you know, in reality, and also one thing I found is you really don't need to do more than the last 10 years of work experience. What you can do is then have one that says earlier roles, just one little block. So the dates, the job role, the company, and that's it. No further information as to what you did. Just if you want to, or you can say for the remainder of my work history, please ask, and I can explain. Because you don't really need it. In a lot of the time, it becomes irrelevant, especially in tech and cyber, because what happens is things just become obsolete. You know, what technology you might have been using 10 years ago to 15 years ago is probably not being the same now. You know, especially post-COVID, the use of virtualization, the use of virtual servers, the use of, you know, SharePoint Drive, rather than the physical data centers that people used to have. Not quite the same anymore. Anyway, I think that you get the point. And, you know, you can put your education on the second page, third page. It doesn't really matter. I think unless your role is unless the company you're applying to is really heavily into, oh, you need a 2-1 or above from an Ivy League university, etc., you don't really need to worry too much about that. I personally don't believe it makes sense. And speaking to hiring managers, most of them I don't think really care. They don't not bothered whether someone's got a degree or not. Unfortunately, you guys have paid 50 grand for nothing. So I'm just saying it like it is. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers the CV. And I think, to be fair, I don't think there's much else I can really go through on it, because I think that covers it in as much detail. And you can ask questions at the end. There's no problem. You can put your questions through, and then my team will let me know the questions. So what I'm going to do now is basically just go through a quick checklist, and then we're gonna go into the second bit, which is applications. So, right, make sure it's an easy to use font and format. So Times New Roman, Calibri, Arial, anything like that. You need to tailor that CV for each and every individual role. Now, I know this is a pain, and I know people are going to say, oh, God, it's going to take me an hour to do this, or an hour and a half. That's a fact. If you actually want to get a role, you're going to need to be, you're going to need to put that effort and time in. And it might be that you can only do one application a day, and you only get 5 applications or 6 applications done in a week. That's fine, because those quality of applications will be much higher. But then there's a whole science behind it, which I'm going to go through after. So use bullet points, tailor your CV for every role. Make sure, you know, like it says there, personal details, links, GitHubs, own personal website, skills with levels of proficiency, achievements, you know, top 5, work experience first. And so basically, in chronological order. So where you've worked last first, going down. Okay. And also, you might think you've got no experience. You might think that I worked at McDonald's and that's not relevant. It is relevant. Or I worked at retail. I worked at B&M for 5 years. It is relevant. There's lots of cross-transferable skills. And this is the thing that frustrates me. Make sure your entire work history is on there, because things can be cross-transferable. There is cross-transferable skills that can be demonstrated by your work history. The fact that you could turn up for work on time, the fact that you were there for 5 years, whatever the length is, the fact that you got promoted, it's really, really, really important that you do use, you put down all your work history. You might need to be a bit clever about it, but it does need to be there. Education, including, and I think certs are more important than education. So if you've got CRT, if you've got, if you've got CREST or CPSA, OSCP, if you've got ISO 27001, whatever it is. Yes, Phil, you can have a copy of the slideshow. Don't worry about that. I can send you that afterwards anyway. Basically, certs and some personal information about you can do. I'm not a big fan of this because I think what can sometimes happen is they might get the hump. Like, for example, I'm a Man United fan. Someone might be a really big Liverpool fan or an Arsenal fan or a City fan. What's the point? You're going to already put them on yourself on the back foot because they might not like your football team. And I'm just giving you an example. So I personally refrain from personal information about hobbies. I'm not a big fan of it at all. And you're there to do a job, and they can find out about what you like at an interview, quite honestly. Whatever information you put in your achievements, you don't need to repeat it in your work history. So, I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer, but sometimes it does happen. You've got to be a bit careful because it takes up space to do that. And when explaining your role, be brief, bullet points. You don't need to overkill what you're putting in there. You're giving them a flavour of the work that you did, and you're going to talk about that in an interview. That's the whole point. And again, one last time, I use myperfectcv.co.uk. I think it cost me 16 quid for the year, and I can do as many CVs on that as I want. And to be honest, for me, work's a treat. I love it. I don't know what the cost is now, but because I've kept renewing it for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's £16. Really well worth it because I've helped hundreds of people with CVs over the last few years, hundreds, using this platform. And I recommend it because it does give you a range of templates to choose from. Right, that's the CV section pretty much done, and I'm going to go now straight into the how to apply for jobs. Now, I'm going to base this off this lady that I've been working with and the type of roles that she's sort of going for, and how I would work with her, or how she would do it after the information I've given her. So I call this something. You've got 2 ways of doing this. There's a manual way and there's using AI. Either way does not make any difference because essentially, even if it is using AI, you're going to still have to do the work because you're still going to have to tell AI what you want it to do. And then after that, you're going to have to refine it into your own voice. And this is the key bit. A lot of employers now are literally, this is how they're reading them out. They literally go in there and they ask, how would ChatGPT basically write a cover letter? Or so you've really got to start to put it in your own voice. Get it to set the template for you and then mold it into your own voice. But we'll do that in a minute. But basically, take this role. This is the role and this is the CV. And basically, all that happens is you do some mapping. You look down the job specification and you have to either manually, or this is why I like AI because it's quicker. You ask it to map the key requirements for the role, the key skills for the role, the key requirements, what you need, and your CV. And it should there. And you ask it, do it in 10 points, 10 bullet points. Because really, I mean, to be honest, you don't need it in more than that because you're not going to do write War and Peace on this again. So you need to make sure that that when you're telling the AI, tell it very specifically. So say something like using British English, or if you're in other parts of the world where they use whatever English they use, specify the English type that you want, and then tell it. And again, be careful. Don't use your CV with the contact information. Debadge it or copy and paste the CV with just everything but your contact information in your name, and then put that in and put the job spec in and ask it can you map my CV to the job spec, and can you extract from the skills and from the requirements how I match this role? And that way, what happens is that it will then pull you out and ask it to do it in bullet point, and ask it to give you a heading for each. So it tells you this, I don't know, let's take, for example, I'll talk about sales because that's the easiest thing for me. It might say that, or recruitment. Maybe I'm applying for a role and it's saying something like you need to have strong 360 experience. So 360 experience means working with clients and working with candidates, sourcing clients directly, and then filling the roles yourself by finding candidates. So in that case, I would put 360 experience, colon, and then I'd say 11 years, 360 experience in tech, in cyber, talk about, the experience that I've got related back to that. All you're doing, so what do you call it? That 10-point bullet point list is then going to form the backdrop of how you're going to go and make a cover letter, or how you're then going to modify your CV to do it. And this is the critical bit. This is the bit that really does take time. So by using this, the job spec, and then using your base CV, you're going to sit down, you're going to map it, you're going to get those 10 core points. So they might be skills, it might be experience, it might be knowledge of the market, it might be, and it could be that your experience hasn't come from commercial, because a lot of the time when you're entry level, your experience doesn't necessarily come from commercial. Don't automatically discount yourself. Think outside the box. Think, okay, hang on a minute, I don't have 12 months pen testing experience. Have I done any bug bounty work? Oh yeah, I have. Have I done any freelance pen testing? And there is ways around it, but you still can demonstrate. Like, for example, again, I'll go back to my friend Joe. He's basically worked 500 days plus on so many different CTFs. I'm sure he could probably populate an entire book with the CTFs that he's done over that time. So what he could probably do is, when he gets a job spec up and it comes up and it says you need experience with X things, he could probably go into his bank of knowledge and say, right, I've done these CTFs, and relate them back to the role. This is what I'm talking about, relating your experience back to the role. So that is where it's really critical, and that's why it's so critical that you do this CV and job spec mapping, because this is what happens is, then once you've got that together, you can modify your CV so it maps against the job spec, and B, you can write a cover letter that can really smash it out of the park. So I don't think I'm avoiding answering the questions. I'll answer all these questions at the end. I'm not going to answer them now. I'm going to answer them at the end. So keep putting your questions in, and at the end, we'll in the last half an hour or so, we'll go through the answers to all of these, in my opinion. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So simple steps to apply. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. I'm just trying to give you pointers and help, because it seems a lot of people are really struggling and that they don't know where they're going wrong. And yes, it is a lot of effort, but let me be honest with you. What's the alternative? You spray and pray and get nowhere anyway. At least this way, you might only do 6 applications in a week, but what's going to happen is one of them or 2 of them might just give you an interview opportunity. It's a risk, and there's a lot of effort. But I believe it's a much stronger way. And I'm testament to this because I've done this. And recruitment is, if you guys think cyber is competitive, believe me, recruitment is just as competitive. It isn't easy. It is not easy at all. In finding a role, there's thousands upon thousands of recruiters out of work right now as well. So modify, again, I'm going to go through this. So map your experience to the job spec, like I told you. You're going to modify your CV to reflect your experience as per that the job spec CV mapping that you do. You're then what you're going to do next is you're going to source a contact, the hiring manager. So if we go back up here, you'll see Elena Volk. She's the hiring manager for this. She's sort of the from the HR perspective. So there's two ways you can do it, and this is what I would do. I would try and find out who the hiring manager is in terms of who the recruitment person is, but also who the actual hiring manager is. Okay, so not just this person, but the actual hiring manager within the team. And then I would then reach out to them, and I think I've got some examples of have I? Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's fine. I'll go into that in a minute then. So you're going to reach out to them and going to try and connect. If they connect, reference you know when you're applying. So say they've connected, you can then reference the fact that they're connected to you on your cover letter. It's not, it doesn't. Let's just say it gives you a little bit of an edge, 1-2%, not massive, but it gives you a bit of an edge because they're already connected with you, and they can look at your profile, which they can anyway. But it just gives you that little bit of an edge, worth doing. And you can use AI to modify your cover letter, but I do it the other way. I get it to create the cover letter and then modify it into your tone, into your voice. That's the important bit, making sure that you use your own voice, even if you're using AI to start the process. Okay. Now, my recommendation is make a connection before you click apply. And I think personally it helps, because what happens is if they connect with you, and usually I think I would say that because they're recruiting a role and your candidate's looking to learn a bit more about the role, you can hit them with that. So let's just say it's the HR manager recruiting for a pen testing role. You can say, I saw that you're recruiting for an entry-level pen tester on LinkedIn. I'd like to connect and learn a bit more about the role before I apply. Send them the request. Hopefully they connect. Once they've connected, I would tend to use a voice note. Just say, thank you for accepting my request to connect. I'd like to just learn a little bit more about the role and about the base requirements for it, etc., etc. And leave it at that. Don't do the hard sell of I'm really great pen tester and you need to hire me. None of that. You don't need to do that. What you want to ask them is, what do you need to demonstrate on your CV that will get you an interview? Okay, and you do that in subtle ways. So you can ask them what the core requirements are of that role. And again, if they come back and answer it, they've given you half the job. If they're telling you we need people who can do web app, I'm just using pen tests because I understand the technology behind a little bit more. In fact, no, I'll use an IT. I'll use both pen testing and IT. So if, say, for example, it's an entry-level role in as a software developer, C# full stack dev, right? And they're telling you that they must have C#, .NET, and then on the front end HTML, and they need a framework like Angular or React. Make sure that you've got demonstrable experience, even if it's non-commercial, on that front page, so that the minute they see it, they can see why they're going to give you a look at an interview. Okay, and timing is very important. Again, don't forget also that they're getting hundreds of requests and they're getting hundreds of CVs. So be respectful and follow up. So say they connect with you and you don't hear from them, give them apply and then contact them after a week and just say, I've applied. Can I get some, any chance I can have a chat with you about the application? Something like that. Now, avoiding the robot trap and humanizing AI generated content. I think this is really important. One of the problems, I mean, you can see the issues there: generic tone, overuse of buzzwords, missing personality, inaccurate claims and formatting errors, tips. So basically, what happens with AI is, because it is robot generated, it's not you, it's not your voice. What you need to do, like, for example, I always find AI always puts lots of hyphens in what I'm doing. So you have to take them out, or you have to tell it, don't put hyphens in, because that's not how you write. Overuse of buzzwords. Again, this is a common problem. It thinks that it needs to use lots of buzzwords. Sometimes simple is better. And it could be that, so use the AI and build it. Remember, what you put in is vital. So what you're asking it to put in is really important. And again, there's lots of help already in this on YouTube. You just go onto YouTube and learn how to harness AI and get the most from it. But again, you can't let it write a cover letter and then leave it and send it. You need to modify it and make it sound like you. Make it into your own voice. Make sure that there's no inaccurate claim. I mean, I remember when I was using it to apply for roles 4 months ago. And it totally changed some of my metrics. I'm like, this is not me. What's it talking about here? You've got to be very careful. It makes it up sometimes, and that's not good. Like, I think it was saying something like 90% retention rate, which is, I wish I had a 90% retention rate on candidates. But you've just got to be careful. So, recap. Let's just go through this again. So you're going to tailor your CV and cover letter for each role. You're going to connect to each of the hiring managers and recruiters on LinkedIn. You're going to research the company thoroughly before applying. Use clear, honest language in all communications. You're going to highlight results, not just responsibilities. Avoid AI-sounding phrases. Be natural and specific. Keep emails and messages short and polite. Prepare questions, and this is really where you add value. I placed somebody recently, and I actually gave him some questions to ask, and the hiring manager afterwards told me, he said, "Yeah, the reason why we picked him is because everything was pretty similar to the other people, but the questions he asked was really, really deep, and they made us think, and these are questions I'd given the lad, but." That sometimes you need to sit there and ponder what is going to give me that 1-2% edge over my competition. And sometimes it's the questions you ask, talking about latest technology, talking about how they are going to modify their approach, because technology just moves on at a rapid response now. It's not like previously where it did take a few years. Every 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, we're now looking at changes in technology. And AI is only going to make things more drastic. So keep ahead of it and ask questions that are relevant to that, and stay consistent and track your applications. One of my very good friends, Justin, he uses a tracking system on Excel. So what he does is when he's applied, he puts the details in an Excel spreadsheet, and then he keeps up to date as to where he's up to with it. Because otherwise, to be honest, if you're applying for lots of jobs, even if you're applying for 5 or 6 a week, that's a lot of work. And also, it's hard to track it all. So it's definitely worth doing that. So I think that about covers that. Right. We've got about 35 minutes for questions. Okay. And I'm happy to answer any questions. We've got half an hour now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off this screen and just put myself back on. So just bear with me a second, and we can just go through the questions. So hang on. How do I? 1 second. I need to just get myself off this. How do I stop streaming?
I think the share screen button is like
stop sharing. Got it there.
Yeah.
Right. So you can everyone see me now? Okay.
Yep.
I think everyone can see me. So I'm just going to go through some of these questions. Right, hang on. No, it's just lost the questions. No, I didn't.
Do you want me to help you read the questions one by one?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
All right, cool. So, I'll start. I'll just do it based on like first come, first serve.
Yeah. If you.
Are there any particular CV formats that tend to stand out to hiring managers in cybersecurity?
I don't think you can say there is a particular format because every hiring manager's got their own way of working. The reason why I like the ones that I like is because they're clean. So if you go back to, and by the way, if anyone wants a copy of the presentation, just message me on LinkedIn and I will just send you a copy of it. There's no copyright or anything like that, so that's no problem. But essentially, the reason why I like the format that I use is because it's clean, it's white, and it's easy to read. And I think in terms of accessibility in a way, it's easier to read and really digest the information from that format I showed you. So that I prefer that, but it's not to say hiring managers will only work up the. I don't think you can go, because if you ask Justin, he might say one thing. If you ask Sean, he might say another. If you ask other hiring managers, they might say differently. You know, I tended to use this, and I got my clients very used to the format I use, and they like that because I got them used to it. But I'm not saying that it's the only format. There are other formats you can use.
Yeah, I think it's just about, just like you said, keeping the information clean and making it so that the most important things are on the first page.
Yeah.
If you have that, I think you're good to go. And it's like something that can be easily digested by, these ATSs and software that's been used.
Absolutely right. That was one other point I was going to make. ATS systems are horrible. So what you need to do with ATS systems is a very simple CV, no formatting. It's as mad as it sounds. You need to do the same CV but without formatting, and just basically make it your name, the contact information, the professional summary, achievements, your skills, projects, and then your work history. Try and get everything. Try and get as much on the first page as possible, because again, the ATS system will still score it using the metrics of how many times you use buzzwords. So just be careful with that. Next question.
Yep. What do you suggest an applicant does after applying for a role clearly qualified for, but didn't get an invite, but just a subtle rejection? Post what job application tips?
Okay.
You've put in a lot of work into the application process, and then it's like,
absolutely. I would reach out to the hiring manager and just ask them, just say, I appreciate that I've not been successful, but so that I can improve, can you give me some help, even if it's just a little bit more information to understand where I've gone wrong, to improve myself, so that when I apply in future to other organizations, I'll have learned from this experience, something like that. Just reach out to if you are connected to the hiring manager, or if you find out who they are, do a bit of OSINT and find out who they are and drop them an email just to say that I appreciate that I've not been successful for the role. Can you just give me a little bit more feedback so I can improve for the future? Something like that. And to be honest, if they're working in cybersecurity, they've got to expect that you're going to do a bit of OSINT anyway. So,
yeah. Just at the end of the day, like sometimes even if you ask, you might not get any meaningful feedback. It might be something that's completely unrelated to you. It might just be that they had many qualified applicants and they can't interview everyone, so they had to make a choice. So sometimes other times it could be like, the role is not even like the advertisement for the role is like fake, because they already have someone internally they want to hire, but because of compliance, they've put the job application out there. So it could be many things. So don't get discouraged if something like that happens, and you don't get like useful feedback. But it's worth trying, just like Musa said.
Absolutely, and I think this is one of the things that I think people get hung up on it. At the end of the day, you might make 5 applications in a week, and it might take you 5, 6, 7 hours to do it. But the chances are you're probably going to get one of those back that will come for an interview. Whereas if you send out 50 applications that are basically spray and pray, I can guarantee you none of them are going to come back. That's the difference. Yes, it is a lot more work, and I get that, and it might be soul destroying because you're working really hard, and you just don't you're not seeming to get anywhere. I can get that. It's not easy. It genuinely isn't. But you've just got to keep going, in my opinion. If you get disheartened, then cybersecurity is not for you. Because you can ask Ali, it is a very tough gig. It is not easy at all. And it's even harder to break in nowadays, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, another question here. You mentioned including all past work experiences, even ones like McDonald's, because of transferable skills. Could you give a few examples of what those skills might look like in a cybersecurity context?
Absolutely. So let's say you've worked at, I don't know, let's say you've worked in retail, and you were customer facing. You were, I don't know, you worked at John Lewis. Let's just say you worked at John Lewis. You worked in, or Sainsbury's. Let's say you worked in retail in a store, and you were customer facing. First of all, what's the first thing that you've learned customer facing? Dealing with the public. That's a massive skill. Do you realize one of the main reasons people struggle in cybersecurity, especially a lot of the time, people like pen testers and SOC analysts, the reason they struggle is they're not very good at dealing with other people, and it's just the way it is. It's not. I'm not belittling them or anything like that. It's unfortunately, it's just. It's one of those things where archetypally they struggle to deal with other people. They're shy, they're reserved, they're introverted, and that's why they like doing what they're doing, because they're not having to do. So if you want to be a pen tester and you've spent 3 years working at Sainsbury's or 5 years working at McDonald's or something, you can demonstrate to them. The most important thing is you can communicate, because how else would you do a retail job if you can't communicate? You can be part of a team, because I don't know any retail operation that doesn't require teamwork. Okay. And let's be honest, even if you're pen testing, the chances are there'll be some amount of teamwork required. So let me give you an example. Say the pen test is part of an ISO. Okay. You need to know from the ISO consultant what. First of all, they'll have to give you the engagement scoping will identify what you're actually pen testing. You need communication from that. You need to be able to ask the right questions. What are you doing when you've got a customer in front of you? They might be asking you things, and you might be asking things in return to understand exactly what they want, right? So you can understand active listening, the ability to communicate, the ability to stakeholder or client relationship management. It's all there. It's all there, even in a role like working. I shouldn't say that, because it's a tough role, and that's disrespectful. When you've worked in retail or in McDonald's or anywhere, and you've done a customer facing role, there's so many cross transferable skills. Even things like turning up and discipline to turn up to work on time, to turn up on your shift on time. The bus is delayed, but you still get to work on time. You have to manage your time management, timekeeping. All these things become relevant to an employer. And honestly, you don't take my for it. Reach out to some of the employers and ask them. Ask. I think Sean runs his dojo still. You can ask him on there how important it is, and he will say it's still relevant because it demonstrates X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Unless you've got something to add. If you think there's something to add,
I was thinking of something, but I've forgotten now.
Yeah, I've got something to add.
Sure.
Like with McDonald's in particular, there's a lot of policies and procedures you have to follow.
Yeah.
Which is a large part of cybersecurity is following policy procedures, implementing policy procedures, mainly on the GRC side of things. But ultimately, you're in the position of high trust as well. You are dealing with people's food. You're controlling allergies. You're an allergy critical environment. So I think, especially McDonald's in particular, knowing that it's such a high pressure environment and lives are on the line, that's actually a really cool thing to have in your CV. Also, and I'm not trying to offend anyone by saying this, a lot of people do not want to work at McDonald's.
Yep.
Showing that you can turn up every day, you can achieve your badges, your little stars for this and that. That goes a long way. That shows that you're hungry for the work, and you're willing to work from, I don't want to say it from the bottom up, but yeah, if you get me, without offending anyone.
I couldn't agree more, Joe. I think you've made a very valid point there, and I think again that's very true, and I think again that's very, very relatable. That yes,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I remember what I was going to say. So at the end of the day, no matter which career path you're coming from, what matters is how you're able to frame it, right? It's kind of like you're doing marketing, to be honest, right? Like you're marketing yourself, you're marketing yourself as a product and offering services to a company. So what matters is how you're able to like package and frame your previous experiences in a way that would be relevant in a cybersecurity context. So it's a combination of that previous experience you have and the skills that you're currently gaining, the projects that you're working on. Like if you put everything together in a nice package, it's going to help a lot. Also, I think you mentioned something about like the communication aspect and some people being like wired differently in the sense that you don't enjoy talking to people, you don't enjoy you're kind of like introverted. It doesn't mean because you're introverted you're a bad communicator. Like you can become a very good communicator as an introvert, as someone who has a very low social battery like myself. I've had to like force myself to be able to go out there and like and talk to people and communicate. So even if you're not naturally wired uh to go out there and be an extrovert and things like that, you can still become a good communicator, right?
I think you're absolutely right. And actually, watching Aliyu develop over the last few years, because we've known each other the last 3 or 4 years, I think now, certainly the last 3 years. Watching him develop his skills has been massive, and the difference between him maybe 3 years ago to now is a huge change. And I think this is one of the things that you really do need to understand. Just because you feel inhibited and you feel, see, it's different for me because I'm an extrovert, but I'm also an introvert. I'm like this complete mishmash, but hybrid system. But the fact is that if you are introverted, and inevitably most people in cyber tend to be a little bit more introvert than extrovert, it doesn't matter. Come out your comfort zone, and find a buddy. One of the things I would say, and this is one thing I think really does work very well, find yourself a buddy to work with, to apply for jobs, and to maybe study with a little bit in terms of search, but just to bounce ideas off. We do it all the time. I'm not even in cyber directly. I was recruiting in cyber and in tech, but I used to bounce lots of stuff off Aliyu, Justin, off Joe, off Paul, and off many other people, because then, and they used to bounce things off me. Even they know that I'm not a technical person, but my knowledge of the sector and the industry and my knowledge of employers has helped them. So I really do recommend get yourself a study buddy, so to speak, or an application buddy, and work together on applying. What I would recommend is, so that there's don't have a like for like person, because there could be some of the old, bit of jealousy if someone gets an interview and you don't. So if you're a pen tester, pick someone who's a SOC person, or pick someone who's GRC, so not in your field, and it works a bit better. So,
yeah, fair enough. I know someone who's an AppSec. Like, I think you still need to connect to people within your field, but maybe have someone else as like your interview job application buddy, because when you see other people doing like awesome stuff in your field, it just pushes you to go that much further. But because of time, I'm going to just move on to the next question. Can we get your full name on LinkedIn? I'm going to tag him in the comments.
That's fine.
Now. Don't try. Joe says, don't try to cheat the ATS system. By the way, it won't make you look good at all.
It doesn't.
And you'll be noticed for the wrong reason. You could even get added to a block list.
Yeah, and that's very true, and it has happened. Definitely. I think Phil's put on a point on there as a career changer. I have taken on a help desk role and a stepping stone in cybersecurity to get easier to get a tech role from a tech, easier to get a cyber role from a tech role than from another industry. My help desk role is incredibly narrow in scope and very boring. From a prospective employer's point of view, how will it be considered acceptable in a role before looking to how long? I don't like, right. What I would say, Phil, is that if you're learning stuff from this, that's the most important thing. It might be incredibly boring and it might be that it's not exactly what you want, but I'd say there are at least 12 months to get a background in it. And then after 12 months, you can start looking. Yes, I get you don't want to be seen as a job hopper. I get there's a whole stream of things that I'm guessing you don't want to come across as negative. I'd say 12 months. And you can say that because you can feel that you can build on it and say that in reality, I'm not actively looking to leave. What it is, I'm looking for opportunities more directly within my field, which is cyber. And I feel after a background of 12 months or 18 months within tech itself in help desk, it's given me that background knowledge and understanding of Active Directory, of systems, of networks, of DNS, of all of the access controls, all of the key things that you're going to be using or working towards within a cyber environment. So the short and long answer is probably 12 to 18 months.
Yep. I don't have anything to add to that. That actually hit the nail on the head. The question: what AI tool would you suggest for CV mapping?
So I tend to, in terms of CV mapping, I just use ChatGPT. I think some people say Copilot isn't bad. I've not had that much experience. I'll be honest with you. I've not had that much experience with Copilot because for the last, I think, 3 years or however long it's been out now, I've been using ChatGPT. So I'm kind of used to ChatGPT. But you know what? It's just what you're used to. Some people claim that Copilot isn't as strong as ChatGPT. I don't know. I don't really use Copilot, so I couldn't tell you. It's whatever you're comfortable with. All you're really trying to do, again, let me reiterate, you're not getting it to write the cover letter, or just right now, let me rephrase. You are getting it to write the base of the cover letter that you're then going to put into your own voice. What you're really doing, and also the same for your CV, you're trying to draw out the bits of your experience that map to that role that can then be integrated into your CV. So absolutely does require some thinking, but it also requires you to use your own brain and not just AI. What I'm trying to get at here is don't get it to write it and then use that exactly as it's given you. You'll get found out, and like I think Joe mentioned it earlier, or Ali did, that you can get blacklisted, and employers are doing that. In fact, I'm trying to think who it was now. It was another recruiter, and she was telling me that the one of the criteria is that they are blacklisting people for using AI, not in cyber and not in tech. It was actually talent acquisition roles. So what she was telling me is that because so many recruiters are using AI, she was saying don't use AI and write your own cover letters because we're now really checking strongly for people abusing the system.
Yeah, and also like at the end of the day, AI is not really intelligent. I think calling it AI, we've gotten used to it now, but it's a, how do you say it in English? It's a misnomer.
Yeah.
As some would say. It's not really intelligent, and it's going to hallucinate a lot. If you just dump things into it, it will fabricate things into your CV that shouldn't really be there. So make sure, I think at the end of this, it's really about your prompts. Make sure you have like as much detail as possible in your prompts and as much instructions as possible to say, don't fabricate anything that shouldn't be there. Don't XYZ. Sometimes if you just use it blatantly to like generate your cover letter, if you want that cover letter to be good, you might spend more time rectifying what ChatGPT has generated than you would have spent writing it from scratch by yourself.
So what I tend to do, how I tend to tell people to approach this is use it to do the mapping, so that you know that. So rather than you having to have the full job spec, because sometimes these bloody job specs are 3 pages, and you want to shoot them for having a 3-page job spec when you don't need it. You can get it done in 1, but they insist on having a 3-page job spec. That job spec mapping and your job set CV mapping will give you 10 points that you can then integrate into a cover letter. This is why I was saying you're not getting it to write the cover letter. What you're getting it to do is give you the point for the cover letter, right? And there's a big difference. Some people, what they're doing is, just write the cover letter. No, get it to actually map what is going to go into there and then put it in your own voice. Aliu's right. What you're trying to do, remember, what is the purpose of the application? It's to get you an interview. It's never going to get you a job. It's going to get you an interview, and you're going to sell yourself in an interview to get to the second stage, final stage, and then a job, or however many stages it's got. So what you need to do is, this is why I said, map it out to, if you need more than 10 points, do more than 10 points. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that cover letter needs to be in your voice, and the only way you'll do that is by having the points there, so that you can then go in and use those points to actually make a cover letter. And also same thing for your CV, because it could be, let me relate this back to cyber. You're an entry-level pen tester, and it's asking you, or it's saying that you need to have OSCP as a certification. So you need to make sure that is in the first bit of your CV. Forget the certification bit. That needs, if that's a requirement of the job and you've got OSCP, you need to have that in your profile summary. OSCP certified pen tester. Okay. Yep. It's these kind of subtle things that make it easy to make a decision. Same thing as, like, it might say that we can understand you'll have no commercial experience, but can you demonstrate some labs that you've worked on? Or it might say, can you demonstrate an interest in cyber? Because sometimes they don't put it as blatant as, you just put your labs in there. Oh, I've been working on Hack the Box for the last 2 years or last 12 months, and here's some highlights of the rooms that I've worked. Boom! They can see this person takes an interest and is actually willing to put the information in there.
Yep. And like, they'll ask questions like, demonstrate your interest in cyber, just like you said. And instead of just saying, I'm so interested in cyber, oh my God, you have to believe me. I'm like, I have a strong passion for cybersecurity. Just put your projects on there, like, just demonstrate what you've actually done that shows that you have that interest, instead of just claiming it.
Yeah, that's a very important point, actually, what Aliu's just said.
Yeah.
Very important. Very, very important. And I can just see Joe nodding there as well. Writing that I'm passionate about cyber is bollocks. I'll be quite frank with you. It's absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
It's pointless. Absolutely pointless. You show your passion by demonstrating things that you worked on. Like, for example, Joe, again, I go back to him, 500, 700 days in Dry Hat Me, Hack the Box, day in and day out that he's been working on it. That shows commitment. That shows passion.
Sorry, when people say they're passionate, right? People, they don't think they're going to get called out. And what I mean by that is, you're passionate about cybersecurity. But what's cybersecurity like? What part of it are you passionate about? Are you passionate about looking at logs? Are you passionate about ISO? Like, what are you passionate about? And when they can't say that, no, you like the idea of getting a high-paid job with computers. That's what they mean. That's what I think, anyway. Like, no offense to anyone here. Like, how can you passionate? Like, and passion is a very powerful word. I know pen testers and SOC analysts that spend all day on the computer, and they go home and they go to their families. They're not passionate about it. It's a job. Like,
exactly. I totally 100% agree. Right, I've got 5 minutes left. I see there's a question there from Javid. I will quickly answer that one for him. So he's mentioned about the fact that Joe obviously has done 730-day stretch on Try Hackney Street, and he's been doing it daily, and he's got a 27-day streak there. Do you have any tips for how to post? Yeah, in your own voice, go onto LinkedIn and every day and just show what you've done, even if it's just a paragraph to say, I was on Try Hackney, I was working on this room, and this is the outcome, or this is the challenges that I face, and this is the outcome. That's all you have to write. What it might take you, 20 minutes to put something together. Joe, how long did it take you to do a post every day?
As a dyslexic person, sometimes the post took me longer than some of the rooms, depending on what it was.
Yeah,
But my posts were my voice though. So I shared a little bit of my day and I shared about the room. I would say with this though, come to my talk tomorrow with the Cyber Women. That's free. But if you can't attend, all I say is find your own voice. There's been a few people that have tried to copy me before, almost word for word, the same format, literally everything you can think of. My own little slogan. Just don't do that. It's very false. It's very false. It's very fake. Like they want to hear you, not me, or they want to hear you, but not you pretending to be me. Like,
that's very important.
be yourself, because authenticity matters a lot in all careers, and in cybersecurity is very important. It's a very small industry. Your reputation does get around, and if they know, oh yeah, you worked for this guy, I'm just gonna copy everything he done. Like change this. Sometimes this person in particular would do the same room, same day as me, and it's like, okay, that's very interesting. But conspiracy theory aside, do your own voice. Keep it on LinkedIn. Don't go to Medium. No one will go from this platform to another website to see what you have to say. Sorry, no one's got time for that. They're on the phone. Maybe they're going for the bathroom, or they're on the bus. They might read your little post here and there. They're not going to go to another website to see what you have to say. And don't mean that in a mean way.
No, absolutely, and I think that's a very fair point, actually. Okay, I'm going to give some closing statements here now, because I've got to get going now. I need to pray, and then I'm going to sit with the family for a bit. So, essentially, I genuinely hope this has helped. I hope that it's helped to understand the thinking process that you need to make applications. You feel free, anyone that wants to connect up with me or to reach out to me, I'm happy to give the presentation, to provide the presentation for anyone that if they want to have it. I want to thank Joe and Aliu for being my co-pilots in the back office.
Human co-pilots.
Yeah, my team and co-pilot. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to help. I will run this again, but it's probably be about 3 or 4 months before I do it again. I don't know if this is recorded. I don't think it has. And I'm not sure whether it's available again. So those that weren't here, but those of you that have, I hope it's been useful. And again, thank you very much. If anybody needs anything specific, I'm telling you now, I'm very busy at work, so I can't always get back to you. So don't get the hump with me if I don't. And it's not my sector anymore. I've already been told by my line manager that you are now in freight and logistics, not in cyber. So I'm being very honest with you. If I'm doing anything, I'm doing it in my own time. So respect my time. If I say I can't do it, or I'm not responding, it's not because I don't want to. I just don't have time. And I'm not a type of person who doesn't help people. Everyone knows I do put a lot of effort into helping. That's why I ran this, because I've literally had 200 or more people reach out to me asking for help on the CV. Now, why they've not turned up, it's up to them. But I'm here to give help. It's down to you to take the advice. So take care. God bless. And thank you all very much for attending. It's been my pleasure. Bye.